With this, I'm going to show you a disaster recovery demo between SQL Server 2022 and Managed Instance using the feature called MI Link. In my environment, I've already set up the MI Link between SQL Server 2022 and Managed Instance. You can see that this database is replicated from SQL Server to Managed Instance. Now, on the SQL Server side, I will check the database updatability state, and then I will see that this database on SQL Server is read-write because it is primary. And then on the Managed Instance side, because this is a replicated database, this database is read-only. Next, I'm going to create an empty table on the SQL Server, and then I'm going to insert a single record onto the SQL Server. This record, through the Managed Instance link, is being automatically replicated on the Managed Instance side. Now, on the SQL Server, I will be inserting a couple of more records. So let's say 3, 4, 5 records. And then on the MI side, I see that all these records have shown up and have been replicated in real time. To perform the disaster recovery, I will use the MI Link feature, failover database. I will choose failover between SQL Server and Managed Instance. I will see that the wizard has detected that the link on the SQL Server side is primary and on the MI side is secondary. Then in this section, I will be required to log into Azure, but I've done that before and the wizard is not asking me to do that again. Then I can choose between planned and forced failover. I will execute the planned failover, and here are the number of steps being executed to ensure we are performing a planned failover between SQL Server and Managed Instance. We're synchronizing the communication, we're comparing some LSNs, we're turning on required synchronized secondaries to commit on SQL Server just to ensure that all transactions would pass well on the other side from SQL Server to Managed Instance. Now, because the role was reversed, I would expect that the database on the SQL Server side is read-only, and it is. And I would expect that the role on the Managed Instance side is read-write. On the SQL Server side, if I try to insert some records, that will fail because the database on the SQL Server side is read-only. However, if I insert some records on the Managed Instance side, I can do that because now Managed Instance is primary, and now you can see that I'm successfully inserting records on the same database on the MI side. Let's now reverse the roles again. So let's say you've used Managed Instance for disaster recovery, and then once the disaster has been alleviated, you need to switch back. So in this case, I detect that the link role of the SQL Server is secondary and that MI is primary. I go through in the wizard and I choose planned manual failover again. This is executed and my roles will be switched again. With this, I would expect that the SQL Server database is primary, meaning it's a read-write again, which it is. And then I would expect that the database on the MI side is read-only, which it is. And then on the MI side, I will not be able to insert any records because this database is read-only. However, on the SQL Server side, if I insert additional records, I can do that because now the SQL Server is primary, and I'm able to do that. So with this, I've shown that I've inserted some records on the SQL Server. Then I did a DR drill to Managed Instance, and then I was able to insert some records on the MI side. Then I failed back to SQL Server, and then I was able to insert some records on the SQL Server side. Likewise, on the MI side, if I query the table, I will see the replicated data. With this, I have shown the disaster recovery capability between SQL Server and Managed Instance.